Good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you're watching this. My name is Kim, and I am the Children and Young Adult Consultant with the Connecticut State Library. And I am here with Meg Sher from the David M. Hunt Library in Canaan to talk about an initiative called Small Town Big Talk that we found somewhere, I don't remember where, and sounded really cool, and we want to hear more about it. So Meg, thank you for being here with us at what's 12:07, but who knows when people are going to watch this. I'm really interested to hear more about this program, as well as just sort of, I don't know anything about your library or anything like that, so go for it. Tell us all of it.
Great, thanks for having me. I'm so happy to be here. We're in Falls Village. It's also known as Canaan. We have kind of a name thing going on. We're the second smallest town in Connecticut, and our library really serves as a community center. So I was just telling Kim and Ashley that our library was started in 1891 by sisters of David M. Hunt, who endowed the library in their brother's memory, which is cool. It's one of, in 1891, women were not endowing buildings or starting libraries. So that's something I really like to highlight about our library. And we started out as this library upstairs, a small private lending library, and a school downstairs. Now we have the whole building, and the school is next door. For such a small community, our library is really the community center. We have kids downstairs finishing up story time right now. We have book groups, we have art exhibits. Actually, Small Town Big Talk was hosted by the library's ArtWall, which showcases great local artists. We have a really vibrant library community for such a small town, and we're really proud of it.
So you said that Small Town Big Talk was started by the art, like if I remember sort of the write-up correctly, like a photographer took pictures, and then there was like a conversation about what they were about. Am I right?
Yeah. So Rebecca Bloomfield is a really good friend of mine. So I did this project in collaboration with my husband, Adam Sher, and one of our really good friends, Rebecca Bloomfield, who's a photographer here in Falls Village. When she was in high school, she had done something kind of similar where she had interacted with people, taken their portraits, and asked them hard questions. So the Small Town Big Talk title came from, you see people at the grocery store, you ask how they're doing, you kind of, kibitz for a couple of minutes, but you don't get into depth, and really challenging people. Especially this project was done over December and January. We did interviews in December 2020 and January 2021. So it was really lockdown, right? People were not leaving their houses. They weren't engaging with other people. And so we wanted to give people a chance to have meaningful conversations with their neighbors. And a lot of the people that we interviewed, we knew already. We both reached out to specific people, trying to get as diverse of a selection of participants as we could, and had people approach us also, which was really nice. People who were invested and wanted to be part of this program. So Rebecca had the idea. The three of us were, sitting at home looking for a project. We met on Zoom and brainstormed and came up with all of these ideas. And then we got funding, which was really amazing. And that was the part that I played as the librarian. I was the library connection. I applied for a Bridging Divides Healing Communities grant through the Berkshire Taconic Foundation, which is based in Great Barrington. And we were one of 21 initiatives that we ended up receiving $2,100 to support this project, which was really exciting. And so Rebecca and Adam did the interviews, Rebecca did the photography. I think we interviewed 24 people over 2 months, and then we'd get together and we'd listen to the interviews, we'd pick out meaningful quotes and themes, we picked the portraits we liked best. Something I really loved about the project was that Rebecca wanted to have portraits of people that looked like they were engaging, right? So they're not forward-facing, smiling, posed portraits. They look like you're having a conversation with your neighbor. A lot of them, they almost all took place outside because of COVID. And so it's also an interesting look around Falls Village. One of our participants, Garth, is one of our most incredible library volunteers, and he wanted to do his outside the library. There was another participant whose family has run the auto garage in town for 3 generations. So her portrait is outside of their garage. So in that way, it was really nice, even being outside in the freezing cold. It was nice to get to highlight different places in town that were meaningful for people and part of their story.
What kinds of, I'm just interested in, so you said that this was sort of the time to ask the hard questions, because, you know, I understand it's always like, how you doing? Fine. Even if like, you know, like your trash can caught on fire that morning. So it says, you know, you ask the tough questions, of which there were a lot of, especially in, you know, the winter of 2020. I think the vaccine had just was beginning to roll out. They were talking about how it was coming, and there was a lot sort of going on with that. We couldn't pretend like the digital divide didn't exist anymore. What kind of questions were being asked? I'm just like,
sure. So we had 5 questions that we asked everyone, and we gave them to people in advance. So they signed up for a time slot. They were able to look at the questions, and some people, you know, really grabbed onto one and wanted to talk about that. Other people, it was more of a free flowing conversation. So our questions were, where do you feel a sense of belonging? What are some of your hopes for our town and our country? This was also right after the election. What is a belief you hold that has changed over time? What are some of your concerns about the future? And have you ever felt misunderstood?
Wow, you didn't pull any punches.
No, they were big questions. And my husband is great, is a really good talker. Like, he's great at really engaging with people and having them feel heard. And so he was a really perfect person to do this job.
Wow. Is there, like, now I'm just going off on a tangent. So you said in the image, so it was the image of a person in action. So maybe the person, you know, who was at the car garage or whatever was standing in front of there, I don't know, holding a pie or whatever. Right. And then you listened to the interviews and pulled quotes out. So the full conversation, it sounds like it was more of a conversation than an interview. So is the full conversation available for folks to listen to somewhere, or did you transcribe it? No.
So we didn't know what we did. So I'm going to show you. So we made books. We had been debating what to do. Hopefully you can see. So we made these lovely books. So this is Vance Cannon. He's the librarian at the high school in Falls Village. This is him in front of the high school and with his photo. So when the exhibit actually, so this is kind of like the takeaway from the exhibit. We have a beautiful big space for art at the Hunt, which is really wonderful. And so we had 24, all the portraits were black and white, 24 black and white portraits up on the wall. We have a great team who figures out spacing and sizing, which was amazing, because that would have driven us crazy. And then quotes from each one of them underneath. And it was really nice. People were just starting to feel comfortable coming back into the library. So that felt really special. People wanted to come in and see this. We had a big influx of new people in Falls Village during the pandemic. A lot of, you know, old timers would come in and say, I just, you know, got introduced to 7 new people that I didn't know lived here. Wow. And we also had a virtual exhibit. So for people who weren't in town, you could still view it virtually. And they've actually been keeping that up with the ArtWall. So any art exhibits that are happening at the Hunt, you can see virtually on our website.
Good to know. Can you talk a little bit about the grant process? I know that's something, especially when someone is new to grant writing, but has a fantastic idea like yours, can be a bit daunting. So I would love to hear a little bit about that.
Sure. So we've written, Berkshire Taconic Foundation is one of our really wonderful community foundations in this corner, in the northwest corner of Connecticut. And they make the process really easy, which is something I really appreciated. It was not an arduous application process. I think it was 2 pages. Some very basic budgets, the library budget, the budget for this project. Yeah, it wasn't, that can feel overwhelming, especially sometimes when working in a group, although in this instance, I found it really great to have people to collaborate with and kind of send things back and forth. But I found this, and Berkshire Taconic is really wonderful also because if you ever have any questions, they're very present. And so you can always email and they get back to you right away, and they're very flexible. And will give, you know, if you're going in one direction and that doesn't seem like what they're looking for, they give great feedback.
That's amazing. That's really helpful. Because I
Yeah.
like, I read through grants all the time and can only imagine sort of like, you know, the stress, especially if it's your first time doing something. So you said that you know, the entire project is available in a multitude of ways, either through the book or through the website. I don't know. I just think it'd be so cool if people could like, I don't know, like 500 years from now, like listen to the answers. So do what you want, but I'm just saying, I think that would be really great. What's the community's response to this been, right? So you've got the people who participated. It sounds like it's a small, close-knit town, even though there are new people moving in now. So, you know, a lot of the people who were interviewed are probably pretty well known. So I imagine you probably hear comments about just sort of what the experience was like to either participate in or watch. What was that like?
A lot of people, like I said before, a lot of people commented on meeting new people. We really tried to do some familiar faces, interview some familiar faces, and also engage with new people. We have a lot of young families moving into Falls Village, which is really exciting for a small town whose median age is pretty high. And so that was a big part of people being excited about being able to see someone's face on the wall at the library, and then maybe you see them in town and you feel more willing to engage and to say hello. Something else that really struck me was how much people learned about each other. So there's one participant in particular who really stuck out to me, and she's run a cafe. They closed during COVID, but she had run a cafe in her retirement in Falls Village. It was the cafe in Falls Village. They had a great following, and her portrait, of course, was in front of the cafe. And her comment about, what we pulled out of her interview was about a belief that she had that had changed over time. And she had stated that when she was growing up, she thought you had to be beautiful to be worthy of love. And that in her adulthood, she learned that that wasn't true, and that what a fallacy that was and what a disservice that is to people to hold that. And it was such a raw, beautiful, honest moment. And people would come in and say, I can't believe I did, I just learned something new about someone else. And people were really beautifully, breathtakingly honest with us.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. Well, I mean, I guess we all can, right? Unless you're, I don't know, whoever. That is so beautiful. My gracious goodness. I'm almost like wordless, speechless. So you have, I don't even know. Is this something, and I feel like I don't know if this can be repeated every year, but is this something that you're planning to do again, or did something else grow out of this? It just feels too impactful to be over.
Right. I think in theory, we would love to do it again at a different time. I think also this was a specific time in our lives. My husband was in between jobs and home with the kids during the pandemic, and things were slower. It really allowed us to put the time and effort into this. I think also it allowed, the timing was right for this. It allowed people to engage with their neighbors in a safe and comfortable way. Rebecca actually has a new project, which we're having a session on at the library on April 24th, which is called So Are We Going to Talk About It? It's a similar idea. So it's COVID stories. She just spent some time in Italy. She also is from Cleveland, Ohio. So she was there and in Connecticut, and she's been interviewing people about their pandemic stories. So she does photography and similar kind of Humans of New York style. So less quotes, more stories. And one of the ones that I've really enjoyed, she interviewed the woman who runs Fishes and Loaves food. I think it's called, no, maybe it's just called Fishes in Torrington. It's the food pantry in Torrington. And she worked, 200 days without a day off during the pandemic, providing for her community. And she is this great woman in a hot pink blazer and heart glasses. Like, she just has such a great vibe. and it was a really wonderful story. So in a way, this project has informed Rebecca's new project, and we are going to have so she'll talk about and share some of her portraits and her stories, and then we're going to break into small groups and allow people to actually share. Because talking is important, and being heard and listened to is important. And I think something else we really learned from this project is that people don't, we don't engage in deep and meaningful ways. And when we do, it's really powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I think the last thing I want to know, can people buy your book, like, from you?
Yes. So Rebecca BloomfieldPhotography.com. And if you go to other work, you can both see, so are we going to talk about it? And if you scroll all the way down, you get to Small Town Big Talk, and you can see the portraits and the quotes.
Wow.
Yeah, you can check out all of them. And there's some really good ones. It was good in the process. It's been about a year for us. The exhibit was up from March through June of last year. And to get to go back and look at these and reconnect with the feelings and the people in the process has been really great. So thank you for giving me that opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing with us. This was way more powerful than, I don't know what I expected, but whatever, my heart is feeling lots of feelings right now. That's amazing. A copy of this book may probably absolutely wind up at the service center. Just, because we do have a section for public works, and whatever we can do to help folks learn and hear and see more about what you are doing. Just call me if you need it. We'll share the word. Thank you so much, Meg. It's been great talking to you.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.